Thanks for tuning in to Eyes and Teeth. I've seen this comedian at work, and he is. He's funny. He's just funny. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Eyes and teeth. Show us your eyes, you're smiling. Show us your teeth, you're laughing. John Martin is a brilliant comedy writer, a record-breaking comedian, stand-up comic, an author, a lecturer. He's done it all. But during the lockdown, he and his wife, Jo Martin, posted some very funny and entertaining dance videos on Facebook, dancing in their kitchen. But John is concentrating on researching his very specialist subjects that may even surprise you. John Martin has a very fast-paced delivery in comedy. He thinks on his feet with perfect timing, which is always a masterclass to watch. Would you please welcome the one and only Mr. John Martin.
Eyes and Teeth.
John?
You okay, buddy?
Yeah, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good.
Are you still dancing in your kitchen?
Not at the moment, no. I'm busy writing another book, actually, so...
Oh, fantastic. You've done comedy clubs, cruises. Have you done comedy clubs?
Yeah, I've done everything. Whenever there's a light on, I go, like, you know.
Like a moth. The moth of comedy. Oh, it's brilliant. But I really love your style, John. I first came across you when we were working on a cruise. Oh, wow. Was it in the 90s?
God, yeah, must be, yeah. We go back that far.
I think late 90s, maybe early 2000s on Fred Olsen. You blew me away with your style. It's whatever subject somebody talks about in the audience. If you spoke to someone, you just pick straight up on it. You've got a subject of comedy around any job or any name as well. You've really studied.
I mean, that's something that, you know, I've built on.
Yes.
It's something I enjoy doing as well, I have to say. I wish it's possibly an indiscipline, really, when you look at it. I wish I had the discipline to say, right, I'm going out tonight and I'm going to do 1 to 100 gags in that order, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But I haven't got that discipline.
No.
And after a while, after like, you know, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, I start thinking, okay, how can I push it? How can I change it? How can I challenge me?
Yes.
And so I take this thing on where I speak to people and what do you do and what's your name and where you from and try and come up with new gags. And if I don't come up with a new gag, then I've got a stock of, you know, 1,000 old ones I can just pull out.
Yeah, you've got a dictionary in the back of your head, really, or encyclopedia.
Kinda. I've got a collection of jokes that I've built up since I was a kid. That's what I did as a kid. I collected jokes. And
yeah. Does that mean you've got a super memory for the jokes? They're always there, and or any subjects that you do here, it will just instantly come in as a connection.
Well, two things. I mean, I've got a photographic memory, but it's just a bit out of focus at the moment. I need to take it to Boots and say, can you develop that for me, please?
See what develops. That's nice. But what develops every time, though, is there's always a punchline. It never not goes anywhere. What comes out your mouth, it goes somewhere.
Now, there's always a chance that, you know, something will throw me, like.
Yeah.
But I have built up a huge collection of jokes in my head. And sometimes, you know, it's when you're not working, when you're not on stage. Yes. It can be a little bit difficult because when someone says something, you immediately, you know, this thing clicks into place and you say, oh, it is. And you go, you know, you have to learn to switch it off. Yeah, like when you're at the till in Tesco's or something. And someone will say something and occasionally my missus will say, oh, why'd you say that? And I go, okay, yeah. Right. I'm constantly getting nudged when we're in public. She said, you're not working, you know. We go shopping, I come home black and blue, like with all the elbows and the... Yeah. So, you have to be careful of that because otherwise people will look at you as though you're very strange, you know. So you have to learn to when to pick it up and when to rest it, and of course, all the rest of it. You've got to have a break, haven't you? And I think comedy for you yourself, comedy has taken you all over the world, and it's actually a beautiful thing to have a talent like you have that has taken you around the world and shown you, you know, what the world is really like. And it must fuel your comedy writing as well, because you... Yeah, I mean, you know, I grew up in a place called Bootle near Liverpool. It's not an affluent affluent area by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
And we was a big family, and in a, 6 kids, and my mum and dad literally in the 2-bedroom house,
Wow.
And when I started doing clubs in Liverpool, and then I got offers to go work for the army in Germany and all these places, and then the cruises and the Falklands and Australia. And I remember my dad saying to me one time, he said, because I don't know whether I was moaning that I was flying out the next day or something.
Yeah.
And he instilled in something in me, and I always think of it every time I have to leave the house to go on a plane, which, you need a good memory to remember them days. But my dad used to say, if someone else pays, it's better than travel on first class.
Wow, that's nice.
And so I've travelled the world, and someone else has paid.
That's true.
I think my dad would have been proud of me,
Yeah, that's a nice accolade to have, isn't it, really? Because you have been around the world, and that's kind of what you get from...
I've been all over the world and other places as well.
I like that. Were most people in Liverpool born with no teeth and a joke book by the side of them? Because there's so much comedy coming from Liverpool, and really good comedy, great comics come out of Liverpool.
Oh, wonderful. If you look historically,
yes,
you go right back to Arthur Askey and Ted Ray and Rob Wilson. These were all, long before I was born.
Yeah.
And certainly even longer before you were born.
Sure.
But Arthur Askey, the great Arthur Askey, once said, you had to be a comedian to live in Liverpool.
Okay.
That was a famous line he said. And then, of course, you move along the years, and you get, your Jimmy Tarr book, and the greatest comedian in the world, Ken Dodd.
Yeah.
And these wonderful comedians. And I think when you go to the clubs in Liverpool, when you do your apprenticeship, if you like,
sure, in
these clubs in Liverpool, a lot of the audience are funnier than the comedians.
Yeah.
So you have to know what you're about.
You have to be ready for them.
Yeah, you gotta be ready. You've gotta be. This is where I learned to ad-lib quick. And
the clubs up there are some of the most difficult audiences you could have performed to.
Well, they are and they're not. If they like you, and if you can crack it, they're also the best, because they have a wonderful sense of fun, sense of humour.
Yeah.
A vigour about life.
Definitely.
It almost like, it's just coincidence, really, but Liverpool has the word live in it.
That's nice.
And, it's a wonderful place. The city almost has a pulse of its own. If you can crack a Liverpool audience... Yeah,
that's true. Then you've got it. It's also maybe a lot of you swim as well. Do you swim as well there? Because it's got pool in the name as well.
Aye, that's right.
Is it? Always going for the gag.
Yeah. Pool of life.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. So you touched on a couple of comedians there that I know you wrote for. Was you always writing jokes, or from the beginning?
Yeah, I always, when I was at school, I used to have a notebook and I'd write little jokes down, and some of them weren't mine. Oh, controversial. Some of them, I don't know, I'd heard on a record or seen in I used to get the Beano and stuff. No, there's a little joke, and I'd write it down and collect them in a little school exercise book.
That's nice, yeah.
And I've got a whole file of these exercise books. I've still got them.
Wow.
And then I started to how do you write a joke yourself, and just learned that there is a bit of like doing a mathematical equation, really.
Yeah.
There's a way of doing it.
There must be a way of because you've got to come up with the beginning. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, I guess, doesn't it? Even if it's a one-liner.
There's no good without an end, like.
A one-liner is no good without the last word, is it?
Just found that what I could do and develop was I could watch an episode, the news at 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And usually I could come up with a joke on every subject.
Okay, wow.
So that's what I learned. But again, it doesn't just happen. I'm not
No, you've got to work
I'm
at
not
it.
gifted like that. I have to work at it, you know.
Sure.
And sometimes if I was working to a deadline when I was writing television programs or whatever,
Yeah.
I would literally have to go and, I better go and lie in the bath just to relax and think.
But when you get a deadline, was that good for you when you had a deadline? Because you knew you had to finish it in time? Or...
Yeah, there was an old saying when we're television comedy writers. There was an old saying, one producer actually said to me, we don't want it funny, we want it Monday.
That is clever.
You know, and it could be the greatest gag in the world.
Yeah.
But if you send it in on the Tuesday, it's too late. You just go in the bin.
That's true.
So you have to get the deadline, like, you know, and you have to give the performer. When you're writing for television, it's a different skill to writing for a live performance. But writing for television, you have to give the performer time.
Yeah.
To learn the line and bring themselves into the line and
make it theirs.
Yeah, so sometimes I would actually try and sit there and imagine how would Jimmy Tarbuck tell this particular line.
Okay.
And it's different to how Ken Dodd would do it, or Bob Monkhouse, or
that's interesting.
Dennis or whatever.
See it from their perspective. So it's...
Yeah, and a couple of them would say to me, when I would be at television studios, you know, writing, I don't know, an audience with Jimmy Tarbuck, say.
Yeah.
How would you do that gag? And you'd have to do the gag and they'd pick it up from there, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a completely different skill or art or
yeah.
Whatever, you know.
Did you ever write a joke and they delivered it differently? And does it change the gag, or was it always delivered how you wrote it?
No, sometimes they'd change it. Sometimes they'd ask you if they could change it. Sometimes they'd say, what about, or work with you.
Yes.
You know, and try and develop it, and you go, oh, that's better.
That's nice, working with honesty.
Or I would actually say, no, you've put too many words in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't bounce, it doesn't...
It's like writing a song, I guess. It has to...
Absolutely, what Doddy famously said, he told me, he said, you don't tell a joke, you sing a joke.
Okay, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard Doddy say that. Wow.
You know, and it has to have a beat and a rhythm to it, a joke, like, you know, like you say, like a song or a piece of music.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's like a pendulum. It's got to go right. It's got to be true.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you can look, you know, you see it, you write for a performer and you go, oh, why did he do it that way? But then, and other times, I always thought, I think Jimmy Tarbuck tells a one-liner as good as anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And when you write a joke and you see Jimmy tell it brilliantly with real gusto.
Yes.
Oh, it's a wonderful feeling.
True brilliance, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful.
It's amazing to watch.
But the pride you get from seeing your material told by a master.
I was wondering that, because I write jokes for myself, and when you go and put a joke and you wrote that day and you put it on stage, and the feeling you get when you hear people laughing it's quite emotional, isn't it? But
it's wonderful. It's like you planted a little seed and watched it grow into a beautiful flower. Like, you know.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how
it's the best.
How much of a connection you have with a joke like that. But you writing for other people like Ken Dodd, Jimmy Tarbuck, and Bob Monkhouse must have...
And many others, you know.
Yeah, greats of comedy. And it must be amazing for you to hear those lines being delivered as good as they were.
Yeah, especially if you're being paid for them. Which didn't always happen, like, you know.
No, but you write clean and fresh comedy as well, don't you? There's nothing filth about any of the comedy you write. It's... You
know what? People say this to me, and, you know, people say, oh, you don't swear, and then it's clean. That's not because I'm like a prude.
No, of course not.
I just find that's what I prefer, and I always think, and I still do today, Steve, when I do a show, I always think of when I'm putting a new line in or new lines in, I always think, what would I do if my mum and dad were sat in the front row? Yeah. I couldn't do that. I'd be too embarrassed to do a dark blue joke or whatever, you know. There's nothing wrong with being cheeky and witty and funny and da-da-da, but yeah, that's what I still always think that. What would I do if my mum and dad was sat in the front row?
That's incredible. Well, back in 1993, when you broke the Guinness Book of Records, continuously telling jokes for 101 hours, 39 minutes, how did you not break into a rude joke in that section?
I didn't say my mum and dad were there for 101 hours, 39 minutes.
Oh, you waited till they went home, and then you added a few.
Wait till they would go home, and then I'll I'll do the dirtier stuff. No, you just, as I say, I've just built up this collection of jokes since I could walk, you know. And my dad worked the clubs in Liverpool. My dad was a ventriloquist, a magician, and
George Martin. Yeah, you sent me a picture of him with his dummy, and that's brilliant.
He was called Horace.
Okay.
And it was like Horace was almost like one of the family. I can see it sitting on the couch, like, you know, we grew up with Horace. So there was 6 kids, my mum and dad, and Horace in the 2-bedroom house.
six and a half.
And Horace was the best dressed.
Did he have a bed to himself, Horace?
I had to wear clothes that Horace had finished with. Horace is getting a new suit. You can have his old one.
I suppose the shoes fit for a couple of years, didn't they?
They probably fit me now, to be honest. I'm still only little. But yeah, you know, my dad just brought this doll to life, and I thought it was fantastic when I was a kid, you know, seeing them do it.
It's brilliant.
It was wonderful.
Was your dad, because there's ventriloquists like Roger the Corsi and Paul Event that do like half an hour of stand-up, and then they just do a little bit of event in the end. Was George like that? Did he?
No, my dad, it was a big part of his act.
Was it really?
Yeah, a big part. I mean, bear in mind, in them days, when my dad was doing the clubs in Merseyside and on the Wirral and all Cheshire and that, you know, you didn't have to go out and do an hour.
No, it's
my dad
20
had
minutes.
Half an hour.
Okay.
So he would do tricks and the dummy. But my dad he wasn't one of these who would make fun of the dummy. My dad was almost a classical ventriloquist, you know. He wore the same suit as the dummy. And
nice.
Yeah, you know, always tuxedoed up, and
wow.
The dummy was in a tuxedo, and
that's a nice style.
It wasn't a dummy. It was a young man, like.
Yeah. Oh, so he treated it with respect then, and
absolutely.
So as if he was more like a double act rather than the ventriloquist. He would. Yeah. Okay, that's nice. And
my dad wouldn't do jokes about, you know, I can see your lips move and all that. No, my dad was classical. What I don't know if that's the right term to use when I'm talking to a genius ventriloquist, but my dad didn't make fun of the fact that my dad's intention was to have you believe it was Horace doing the talking.
Which is probably the right way to do it now, especially when all these vent gags have been overdone. You know, it's nice to hear it being delivered in a different way and a classical way, as you say, which is a nice way to put it.
But he was also a magician and a great magician. My dad could make an audience disappear quicker than anyone.
I like that.
And yeah, he worked, you know, in them days, you know, even before I was born, there was clubs on every corner in Liverpool, and that, you know, if he got a booking in Manchester or something, they used to have a term, out of town. Oh, he must be doing well. He's got a booking out of town.
Okay.
And he's gone to Manchester. I mean, you and I will travel to Australia or something.
Yeah.
Then it was like going, I guess, you know, really out the way. The roads weren't good, the cars weren't good, and my dad had an old Bedford van. So, you know, getting to Manchester was quite an ordeal, or Stoke-on-Trent or something, you know.
Wow. It's a bit like now. I mean, the last 4 months, no one's left their town, have they? So it's kind of...
I know, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can, you know, my dad used to sometimes do 2 and 3 different clubs of a night, you know.
Wow.
And he'd go out in his tuxedo, and seeing him, I can picture him right now in front of the mirror over the fire in the living room. We had a mirror, you know, on the chimney breast, and he'd be putting his dicky bow on and all that. And he used to wear, you know, he wore a tuxedo, but you know, with what they call a claw hammer coat, you know, with tails.
Yes.
The back, and there was all pockets in the tails for his magic, you see. You know,
almost like Albert Savine. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he always had a box, and he always had a pack of cards in talcum powder.
Really?
Always, yeah.
Did that preserve them, or?
No, it makes them slide, you see.
Oh, clever. Not smell nice.
Yeah, because they slide when you're palming cards and stuff. So he'd come home and he'd do his weight. The one that he'd used that night, he'd swap for the other one and put that one in the talc. So I can picture it now. These pack of cards in talcum powder.
That's brilliant. Wow.
To make him slide when he's, trying to move them or hide them or palm them. Or,
yeah, I don't know if that's a trick that magicians use these days, or if they know about that. But I'll have to speak.
That's what my dad done. I don't know whether it was just, he never told me that someone had told him to do it, or whether it was just self-taught. I don't know, but
I suppose the same would work with olive oil, wouldn't it? It would just help them slide more.
I'm not a fan of Popeye, so I wouldn't know.
Love it.
I can picture it now, absolutely, as though it was yesterday. My dad had cards
practicing
in talcum powder.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
that's incredible.
He told me it was talcum powder. It may have been something else.
That's why I thought the dummy was real.
Yeah.
Oh no, and that's what the mirror was for.
Absolutely. There you go. And the cards.
He just pieced all that together. Oh, that £10 note.
But yeah, he brought 6 kids up on show business, and I grew to, oh God, it must be magical. My dad's going there, my dad was my hero.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to be in on it,
Eyes and Teeth.
Just for you, John, what is your favourite venue to work? Like comedy clubs, working men clubs, cruises, theatres? What's the best audience?
My favourite venue is the next one.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
Don't worry about where you've been. It's where you're going.
Sure, that's true.
So many people get wrapped up in, I'm this and I'm that and that. Just go for
Work is work.
The next one, it might be in an old people's home. It might be on, wonderful ships like the Queen Mary 2.
Yeah.
You still give it the same act. You still give it the same amount of effort.
Definitely.
That's what I do anyway. I can't phone it in. I don't want to phone.
Yeah. So you started to write books, and you've written a book about the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich.
Heydrich, yeah, he's the highest ranking Nazi to get killed in the entire Second World War.
Wow, the mirror caught the sun, and I saw one of your talks on the ship. It was so fascinating that not only that you've written a book on this, but that how good a comic you are, and then how great this subject that you've got this passion about. Do you find writing about this other passion of yours, which is really, really quite serious, it gives your mind a break from the constant joke writing conveyor belt that you're on? How have you separated the two?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's always difficult. But I mean, now on the ships, I do 3 different history lectures. I do the Heydrich one. I do Custer's Last Stand.
Wow. And
I do Public Enemy #1, John Dillinger.
Okay.
So I always say, if it doesn't get a laugh, it must be the lecture.
How difficult is it to not, because then they're quite serious subjects, how do you not put comedy into them? Or do you keep it light-hearted now and again? You just slip a few...
No.
Or you don't? No, it's quite serious, isn't it?
If I'm in lecture mode, then that's what I switch to. I'm talking about, when I'm talking about Heydrich, I'm talking about the man who at one time was in charge of the final solution, the Holocaust, You can't lighten that up, So then wrote another book called Ambushed.
Okay.
Which is 6 different historical subjects. And then I'm just in the middle of writing Ambush 2.
Brilliant.
So I'm currently, as we speak, I'm researching the Great Train Robbery.
Fantastic.
That's what I'm working on.
Wasn't that a bit fascinating? That's brilliant. And so these are the passions of yours. Do you think cruising over the years has given you that passion of writing, or have you always been into that history?
Oh, no, I've always loved history. I mean, you've only got to look at my act to know that, with some of the jokes. But no, I've always loved history, and and it's a passion that I love bringing into play, and I love doing the research, trying to find new information, and contacting people and finding people, and all this kind of thing. I absolutely love it. It's a great buzz when you get a successful inquiry into something.
Your research,
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that's nice. Do you ever get people coming out of there saying, well, that wasn't as funny as the other night? No?
Yeah, all the time.
Really?
And you do get people saying, is this going to be funny, when you're doing the lecture?
Yeah.
But you don't, you switch into that mode. You switch into, no, okay, this is what I'm doing today. This is what
Sure.
And then tonight, that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm doing,
It's fascinating.
You've got to be able to do that. You have to be able to separate.
Just switch off, yeah.
Yeah, you got to.
Wow, it's incredible that you can, because you can't do it the other way around. When you're doing 100 hours of comedy straight there, you can't. That all has to be funny. Whereas what you're doing here with the talks, that there can't be any laughter in there. So you're not going for the joke. You're going for the wow factor and the.
But it's also a bit like what we were saying about the research, Steve. It's also a new challenge, you see, and I like doing that. I like doing that with the ad libs.
Challenge, yeah. And
I like doing the new challenge of finding and writing about new subjects.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, that's a real love. I've just written part of my new book will be about a man called Babyface Nelson.
Okay.
So I love all that, I love going to places connected and following the trail, and I believe when I do
detective.
Research, yeah, but it's hands-on. I just like being hands-on, Again, I have a saying, and I don't know if you understand it or whether anyone understands it, but I always say, I can see people who don't put everything into a particular performance, and I always say they phone it in.
Okay.
If, in other words, they're not really there, I could have phoned it in.
Yeah, it does make sense.
That's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And I could never do that.
And it's a shame when you see a performer do that. Their heart's not in it. And they.
But you can spot it though.
Yeah.
And not just comedy performers or nighttime performers. I can see sometimes where even lectures. You can see they're not.
They could have phoned it in.
Yeah, they could have phoned it in.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I'm totally different to that, and I'm sure their way is easier and less challenging on their body and mind. But I just think if you're gonna do it, at least have a go.
Do it well.
Have a go,
Because there's someone else waiting to come along if you don't want to do it, So
just yourself, just to yourself.
Yeah, let yourself down.
I think you owe it to yourself and to your mum and dad, and
yeah, that's true. You'll be the best that you can be.
No one can be. I'm not saying we're all brilliant, because I'm certainly not. But at least have a go, put the effort in. You
always put the effort into your writing. What's the best line you've written, and did you give it away, or did you keep it for yourself, or would you sell it to a ventriloquist?
Oh, no, I'd always sell the good ones.
Really? Oh, that's nice.
I would sell the good ones, keep the rubbish for myself. That's obviously what I've done over the years.
That's funny, but it's not true. You're a very, very funny man. Have you written for double acts or ventriloquists? Or
yeah, I used to write for Little and Large.
Oh wow! Okay.
I loved writing, but we've just sadly lost Eddie, a couple of months ago.
So sad within these times, yeah.
Yeah, but they were brilliant to write for, So nice to me, they were.
That's nice. They were lovely guys.
Yeah, they were terrific to write for. They would give everything to a line, but also backstage they talk stuff over with you and would encourage you, and it wasn't an effort for them to give you a compliment or whatever.
Oh, that's nice.
They were lovely to write for.
Yeah, I had dinner with Eddie once, but I spent I think 2 or 3 weeks with Sid on a Fred Alston cruise once.
Lovely.
And just the most adorable man, and they both were lovely. And it was just one of those acts that I grew up watching, Little and Large. And to me, it's like a vent act, because it's one has to be a straight guy and the other one,
of course, that's exactly what it is, yeah.
For Sid to deliver all those lines and he fed Eddie so well. And you need the other one, for that to work. And so they were both fantastic at what they did.
Oh, wonderful!
Works.
Wonderful, and we could still do it today if Eddie was here.
Yeah.
They could still go on television tomorrow if Eddie was around and be brilliant.
Yeah, we missed that. We missed those days and them double acts that we used to have. And no, over the last couple of months, John, I've seen nearly every day you tweet a new gag, and you're writing about this situation we're in. It's hilarious. It's just brilliant. So your mind is all constantly on it, but you are writing every day, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, a lot of what I'm writing at the moment is this new history book, so that's taking up a lot of my time. But now and again, a line will come to you, and write that down. That's a good one.
And I can tell it was by you watching the news that day, because it all related to what's going on in the news. And I'd show my wife. I said, "Look what John's done now." Really, really good lines, mate. And it's all. Yeah. It's nice that it's still there with us. It never leaves you, does it?
No, but it's a shame we haven't got an audience.
We've got nowhere to do it.
Nowhere to do it.
No, it's a shame. But
it'll come back, and it will come back. We all know it'll come back because people want to laugh. People want to see entertainment. There's nothing better than seeing live entertainment. The greatest,
Yeah, you need it.
I don't know in what form it'll be. Whether they put a perspex screen between us and the audience. I don't know what happens. Be like in the fish tank. But what doesn't matter how it comes back. It's all right for you ventriloquists. You can wear a mask. But
no, that's true.
It'll come back stronger.
Yeah, at least it's somewhere for the tomatoes to not hit you in the face anymore. It'll be.
I don't mind the tomatoes as long as they take them out the can first.
John, you're a pleasure to work with, and you're great to talk to. Thank you so much for your time today, mate. I appreciate that.
At all, mate.
Thank you, bud. And I hope we work together again soon. And
all
comes back. Good luck with that book. I'm looking forward to all of them. I'm going to download them all. You can buy them or download them.
Just buy them. I can't download them.
Okay. You don't do the talking books at all?
No, I'm old school. I love a book. I collect books, you see.
Yeah, I do.
I love a book, and I love the feel of a book. I always wanted a second-hand bookshop that would have done me, but...
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but people don't buy books anymore. I think it's only me.
That's me and you, I think. So, I'll come up and buy one.
That's not a big market, really, Steve. And good luck with yours. When's yours out?
Thanks, mate. It's coming out next year. It's quite a big project, this, and I've been doing it for about 15 years. As you know, it's a subject where when you've got a passion, you do study, you do research, and you're right about it's such nice to reach that goal of finding out something you didn't know about a certain.
Great feeling.
Yeah, and even just getting that photograph of your dad. I was like, I didn't know John's dad was a ven, and those extra pieces are really nice to add to it, and it's important to remember the people of the past as well.
Yeah,
so history is great. Yeah, you too, John. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
John. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to John Martin, and especially to Joe Martin, who, with the entertainment agency TAD, have been incredibly proactive and positive in helping fellow artists and the cruise and corporate industry here and across the pond. It's much appreciated. You can catch up with John Martin at www.johnmartincomedy.co.uk. Have a little look at his military history, Operation Anthropoid, which is his book, The Mirror Caught the Sun. His second book, Ambushed, is a collection of bloody events in history. I wasn't swearing then, that's the title of it. You can find them on Amazon. And for any of John Martin's funny tweets, check out John Martin Comic. Enjoy that. I hope you've enjoyed Eyes and Teeth, and if you have, please kindly leave a review and share this podcast and any other edition. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Rich T, Nina, Lola and Larissa Hewlett. All jingles and the Eyes and Teeth theme music is produced by the cosmic Kevin Dean. Today's quote is from the late and great Sir Ken Dodd. Laughter is the greatest music in the world, and audiences come to my shows to escape the cares of life. They don't want to be embarrassed or insulted. They want to laugh, and so do I, which is probably why it works. Ken Dodd. We miss you, boss. See you next time, when I'll be talking to the lovely and one and only Hilary O'Neill.